All sommeliers love sauternes. Perfect for Botrytis wines. Botrytis is a rot that forms on the grapes. Can I tell you how that was discovered? Something that's really, I guess you could call it my signature also, but all sommeliers love sauternes. But sauternes is not the only thing. Sauternes is on the not southernmost, but southern part of Entre-deux-Mers, which is southern side of the left bank. And Entre-deux-Mers, where they make rosés and they make some whites, and the white wines tend to be almost all of them are from the left bank of Bordeaux, especially down in that area right there. You have Pavillon Blanc, that's fantastic. Sauvignon Blancs are amazing. And sauternes are produced with predominantly Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc as well. There is a combination of those, but mostly that area, sauternes, is perfect for Botrytis wines. Botrytis is a rot that forms on the grapes. Can I tell you how that was discovered?
If you'd like to, sure, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, actually, because it does bring one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about dessert wines, because a true sommelier has to be a complete sommelier. Okay, you don't just go and sell a bottle of wine. Okay, you also sell spirits. You do have to deal with cocktails and things of that sort. Some of us, and I have to include myself, I'm not really crazy about selling cocktails or offering them. You know what? It's part of everything we have to do. But it's not my favorite part. It's just like, when I used to be a waiter or a busser way back in the day, I hated serving coffee. I couldn't stand it. I still can't stand it. But, there are parts of our jobs that we're not really crazy about. At the end of the day, I'm still a server in a suit, and in some places you wear a sommelier's classic uniform. You go to Le Bernardin, you're wearing your leather apron, you're wearing your Ritz jacket with the link buttons on it, and you have your sommelier cup on you and with the chain, and you don't use it. It's not one that you use, but it is the classic, the classic sommelier outfit. It's the uniform. But anyway, I'm still a server, and damn proud of it. What's my favorite thing to do? I want to be a sommelier on the floor. I don't want to be a wine director. Not that I don't want to, but I'd rather be on the floor where the action is. That's where I want to be, interacting with the guests, creating experiences for the guests, enjoying their input, me being able to give my input, making sales. Who doesn't get high off of that? You do. It's a good feeling, and I want to be in the fun part of it. And that brings me to sauternes. I love sauternes. Like I said, the predominant grape there in the blend is Semillon. It's a white varietal, and it is a Botrytis varietal. There are Botrytis varietals and there are non-Botrytis varietals. Sauvignon Blanc is not really a Botrytis varietal, but in this case, in the area where it is, it can be infected with a non-noble rot. But we don't have to worry about that with this, because the history of sauternes is very simple. Chateau d'Yquem and Chateau Rieux-Sec are the top two. There are many others that are unbelievable, like Chateau Gilet. We'll talk about that in just a moment. This is not going to be a lengthy discussion on sauternes because it's pretty simple and it's pretty wonderful. There are two rivers that flow. One flows with a warmer current, and the other one flows with colder current, and they meet and they create the perfect combination and the perfect chemical reaction to create humidity and mist. And that creates the proper conditions for mold. So when you leave these grapes on the vines hanging in clusters after they have ripened, they start to form this rot called botrytis. Botrytis is a grayish white, grayish, flaky, powdery mold. Dry, almost. It does turn darker after it's been left on there for a period of time. And what that does is that rot punctures the skin in millions of different areas on the grape. And it saps the moisture out of the vine. That's when it starts shriveling up. You see even old grapes that you buy, regular grapes you buy in the supermarket, and you put them, they're not going to get botrytis because we try to keep our places of living with less moisture and less humidity. But in this case, it saps the moisture, but it doesn't sap the sugar concentration. So the sugars concentrate on there. All right, so that creates the perfect conditions to make a sweet wine. But how did all this get not invented? Because obviously God invented it. It happened that way. We just bumped into it or stumbled into it. The owner of Riusec, Chateau Riusec, which is ironically across the street from, and across the street, not really. It's not a street; it's a road, and it's in the countryside. But anyway, it's across from Chateau d'Yquem, and well, the owner went on a hunting trip, like he would do. He went on a hunting trip to Africa. Now we're going back some time now, before the jet airplane. Steam locomotives were around. Trains. They did have steamships also. So he went on a hunting trip to Africa, and he was late coming back. And his workers were not allowed to harvest until he gave the order. So they just left the grapes on the clusters, on the vines. They just left them there. And then, unfortunately, he didn't have an iPhone to text and say, "Hey, guys, get out there and collect the grapes. It's harvest time, So anyway, he gets there and he sees the conditions of the vines. And he decided, hey, listen, let's do the best we can with it. Let's do the harvest. Let's press. Let's do what we have to do and let's see what comes up of it. Let's see what we can do with this mess. So that's what happened. They'll see them. But that's how sauternes were created. It was an accident. Like Guinness. Guinness was an accident. There was a fire in the Guinness, factory, and when they were cleaning up the big mess, one of these Irish guys with a red nose, opened up these distilleries and opened up the vat and said, "Hey, I'm drinking, man. That's it." And he took a sip of it and was like, "Hey, this is pretty damn good." And they all got drunk on it, and it created a new style of wine by accident. So they figured out how to make it. Anyway, those are accidents that have happened, but that has been something that has been created in South Africa. We know that Napoleon had his favorite wine that came from there, that he would get in Alba when he was in exile, and that's what kept him alive. That's what he claimed. I don't know.